Good morning and welcome to News Center Maine's Political Brew. Glad you could be with us. We are joined this morning by two of our expanded group of analysts. First, Ken Altshuler, who is the longtime co-host of the WGAN Morning News. And, of course, Ray Richardson, the host of the aptly named Ray Richardson Show, 4 hours every weekday morning on WLOB. So if he's not all talked out yet, we're going to hear more from him today. Gentlemen, good to see you this morning.
Great to be here.
Yeah, nice to see both of you.
The long-awaited first debate between the U.S. Senate candidates happened right here on News Center Maine on Friday night. Ken Altshuler, what's your headline from it?
I'm not going to say request denied. I'm going
Thank you.
It was very interesting. So I thought Susan Collins and Sarah Gideon both did well. I think they did what they had to do. Sarah had to look senatorial. We talk about presidential and presidential debates, but she had to look senatorial. I think she did. Susan Collins hit what she should. I'm the incumbent. I have done things for the state of Maine, and this is what I've done for you. I thought her closing on the 9/11 note was excellent. I thought it was a tie. I thought both Sarah and Susan did a very good job. Max Lynn, entertaining, insane. And I thought Lisa Savage actually was very impressive. I didn't know her. And I thought she came off very rational, very reasonable. I liked her presentation. So I thought she did a good job and improved her stature. So I thought.
What's your overall take?
Well, you're not going to like this. I'm largely going to agree with my friend Ken Altshuler. I think that up until the John Roberts question at the very end, which Sarah clearly fumbled.
Would she have voted for Justice Roberts?
Would you?
I believe I would have to fully study and be able to answer that question.
She's ducking the question.
I thought it was pretty much a tie. They both held their own. Senator Collins demonstrated why she's been there and what her experience has done for Maine. I think the John Roberts question, though, Sarah could have hit that one out of the park, particularly knowing what she knows after 15 years of him being chief, and she completely fumbled that. So I think advantage Collins, but I will agree with Ken. Although I don't agree with her ideas, I thought Lisa Savage was really thoughtful and presented herself incredibly well.
Now, apart from the entertainment value, as you mentioned, Ken, did Max Lynn do anything to convince anyone that they should vote for it?
Put your question aside, and I have a bombshell to announce tonight. You know, right now...
I would ask that you stick with the question.
Request denied. What I'd like to say is the eyes and ears and the voices of the people, we represent nature and the wilderness. And that brings me to the CMP corridor.
No, quite the opposite. I think anybody who was thinking he's an independent and a maverick, another Donald Trump, if you will, or Paul LePage, that was a horrible performance. He looked, he was obnoxious. He was rude. I thought you guys did a great job trying to get him on target and on focus, and he wasn't. And so, no, I think he lost any kind of support he had a hope of getting.
Ray, is this a sort of trying to be a miniature Trump here?
Yeah, I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. We talked about it before. In the situation with Donald Trump, whether you agree with him, whether you don't, he always has a purpose. He has an agenda that he's trying to get across. I have no idea what Max Lynn's purpose is in this race. He had an opportunity last night. You guys are the #1 station in the state and have been for 30 years. Had I been in his shoes, I would have really tried to not even contrast myself with the others on the stage, but say, I'm Max Lynn. This is what I'll do. Give me a chance. And he never did that.
Of course, it had a lot of national viewers watching. There's people across the country, ever since the Kavanaugh vote, have said Susan Collins has to go. The other thing they always want to hear from her now is whether she's going to support Donald Trump. It's clear she's not going to say, and yet they keep pursuing this. Is there any point right now, Ray?
I don't see that. You know, I felt a little differently. I got to be transparent here. In 2016, when she was clear she wasn't voting for him. But, you know, the bottom line is, in America, we have a right to go behind the curtain and cast our ballot for whomever we choose. And if Susan Collins doesn't want to tell us, at the end of the day, I don't know what that effect has on this race, because she's still going to be the senator. And whether she votes for Donald Trump or whether she votes for Joe Biden really won't impact what she does in January.
And Ken, Sarah Gideon kept trying to pin her down on that. It seemed to me to not much effect.
Well, it depends on who you're trying to target. Now, Sarah avoided, I think Ray made a great point about John Roberts. I have no clue why she didn't immediately say he's a great chief judge. I would have voted for him. I think Ray's absolutely spot on. What is her attack? She's saying, I'm not going to go after Kavanaugh because the people who are mad at Susan will already vote for me. And there's some logic to that. So now her logic is let's pin Susan to Donald Trump. It's not going to help her in the 2nd district. I don't think she needs it in the 1st district. But what else is her attack point? So I think that if she feels she's gaining traction by saying that, it's a good argument. I don't know if Susan can answer that question one way or the other. That's going to help her. She can't tie her coattails to Donald Trump, but she can't also decline to support the leader of her party, like it or not. I think Susan did a good job ducking it. I don't know how long she can do that, though.
Yeah, go ahead, Ray. We got.
I just want to make one point
in this race.
The one thing I think Sarah Gideon has to do, and she has not done thus far, is demonstrate how a trade for Sarah Gideon for Susan Collins makes sense. I mean, right now, Susan Collins is in line to be the chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, arguably the most sought after position in the United States Senate, except maybe for majority leader. And so we would be trading a rookie who doesn't know where the bathrooms are for someone who will have the most powerful committee assignment in the Senate. I think Gideon has to explain to Maine why that's a good trade, and she has not done that so far.
Let's talk about the upcoming ranked choice voting in Maine's presidential race. The people's veto is not going to be on the November ballot, but the state Supreme Court, could still put the law on hold, so it can't be used in this year's presidential election. We don't yet know what they're going to do. Ray, as a practical matter, what difference does it make if we have ranked choice voting in the presidential election this year, because there are no serious third-party contenders?
Yeah, I think from the standpoint of how this will shake out, I believe Donald Trump's going to be over 50% in CD2. And I don't know what's going to happen in CD1. I was out riding around over the weekend, Labor Day weekend, and outside of the Portland area, there were a lot of Trump signs. I don't know what that means. For me, the disappointment is that this will likely be the greatest turnout in Maine history. And if we had ranked choice voting on the ballot, people would speak resoundingly one way or the other. And for me, that's a disappointment, because if they do allow the signatures, the vote will now be in June, where we had very few people show up.
Ken, what do you think?
Well, let's not forget they did speak resoundingly at one point. Well, maybe 52, 48% is not resounding. That being said, I agree with Ray. I think that the 2nd district, now, Donald Trump won by a wide margin in the 2nd district. I don't think it's going to be that much of a margin, but are we really worried about one electoral college vote? I don't think so. Pat, you made a great point. The other 3 candidates for president are not non-entities. I don't see it making a huge difference whether it's on it or not, but it does make Maine first in the nation on a ranked choice voting for the presidency. I think that's an interesting component of bringing Maine into the spotlight nationally.
A new book by Bob Woodward is due out this coming week, and it reveals that President Trump knew in early February about how dangerous COVID-19 was, and he said it was worse than the flu, but he chose to publicly downplay the risk, and in fact went and started having big rallies again days afterwards. He says, I like playing it down to avoid panic. But Ken, I'm wondering, was he derelict in his duty to start seriously coordinating a federal response at that moment?
Exactly. That's true. And he was, because look, you can present to American people a potential crisis and calm them down at the same time if you're a proper leader. And what he did not do was prepare by making sure we had many masks, many testing items. So yes, not only was he a hypocrite, shown by what he said afterwards, but he was derelict in his duties as the leader of America to prepare us for it. And when you contrast what he said publicly, at the same time he was having this private conversation, it shows his derelict of duty and his hypocrisy. Will it make a difference? Probably not. But yes, it was a clear sign of hypocrisy and derelict of duty, and showed that he knew about this long before he claims he knew about it.
What's your take, Ray?
Well, as you may imagine, I'm going to disagree with Mr. Alshuler on this one. I think the president was right in what he did. I think not panicking the country. In my family, we have a rule: whatever happens in life, don't panic, because when you panic, you think illogically. And if the country had been panicked by this, I don't think many good things would have come out of that. But I look back and see what he was doing behind the scenes. Many people don't know about this, but Kellyanne Conway, a senior advisor to the president, started holding meetings with her staff about COVID preparedness in the middle of January, President shut down travel from China. They were taking steps. Do I believe that everyone fully understood the threat that COVID was to this country? No, I don't believe anybody did. If you'll recall, Dr. Fauci early on was saying in an interview, I played it on the air many times, masks don't work. I don't know why we're doing this. And now people are talking about a national mask mandate. So I think the president was right in not trying to panic the country. I guess history will decide how much preparation was done during that time.
Ray, let me suggest something. A hurricane's coming to America. So the announcement should be it's going to be a little breezy tomorrow, but that's all you have to worry about. That's the problem.
I think that's a little different. That's a little different.
All right, let's move on. Months after the House passed another pandemic relief bill that gathered dust on Mitch McConnell's desk, the Senate this past week failed to advance a slimmed-down proposal. Senator King, for one, points out that Americans are starved for coronavirus relief. Why is it so hard, Ray, for Congress to address this? And who has to take the political heat for a failure to act?
Well, I think all sides have to take that political heat. As you know, Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, has been negotiating with Speaker Pelosi. That's really not gone a long ways. The House bill was a laundry list of things you would never get, so you throw them into this thing because you feel like they have to pass something. The Senate was pared down maybe a little too much, and I think if we're going to do this, we don't want it to be so skinny that it doesn't have the kind of impact we're looking for. But on the other hand, $3 trillion is an insane amount of money, particularly for some of the things they were trying to spend it on. I thought, honestly, that they would get a deal done by Friday because we have an election coming and both sides can't afford to be playing for this. But people are saying now it may not happen until after the election. I don't know. I keep hearing conflicting reports out of both sides in Washington.
What do you think, Ken?
You know, I'm the Democrat on the panel, but, you know, when we look at the first relief package, the inflation that's going to cause long term is going to be devastating to our economy. Ironically, I think people are going to think that the Democrats are opposing relief and the Republicans are in favor of it, although the Democrats are the ones who want $3 trillion more dollars. I think that in some ways, the Democrats will take the heat, and it allows President Trump to try to use executive orders and become the hero at the last minute. I think it's a bad move on the Democrats. I think it could hurt them at the end of the day.
All right. Finally, Ken, we're going to have our winners and losers in politics this week. We'll let you go first.
My winner is Bob Woodward, who will be a best-selling author yet again. He's going to sell a zillion of books. And he came off as being an incredible journalist who had the ear of the president, came off very neutral, viewed as a transcriber of what the president said. He's going to win not only financially, but in terms of his reputation. My loser of the week is Donald Trump. I think that whether or not it's going to affect the election, the view of him as having a private conversation with Bob Woodward at the same time saying something completely different to the public is going to make him viewed as not only a hypocrite and not only derelicting his duty, but also not being a leader. And that will hurt him in the next election.
How about you, Ray?
Well, my winner for the week is Donald Trump because of what is happening in the Middle East and these recognitions of Israel that have been long coming, and somehow he was able to pull it together. Oddly enough, my loser for the week is a tie between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Donald Trump had to know that Bob Woodward was not writing a book that said, Trump is magnanimous, he is so wonderful, he's the greatest intellect ever. He knew this was going to be a hit piece. He still sat down and did it. I don't understand that. And Joe Biden for doing a Zoom meeting with pre-written questions from the audience and a teleprompter to answer. Just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. So it's kind of been odd. Donald Trump wins and Donald Trump loses. And I think just Joe Biden looked bad in that teleprompter situation.
All right, Ray, Ken, thanks so much for being with us this morning. We thank you for watching. News Center Maine is back after this.